So I'm downstairs on the downstairs patio, and I wanted to do another quick vlog on a little bit of my history. So having the 2000 XL back in my life is an exciting time, but it made me start to reflect on how many MPCs I've had, the experiences with each of them, and when they were purchased and why. And it just made me think about all the different reasons why I got rid of them and regretted getting rid of them, and I'm glad that I got it back. Actually, I got back every single one that I've ever had. Let's get into it. Starting with the 2000 XL, I bought my first 2000 XL back in 2001, I believe, from Washington Music Center. Just before I started working at Washington Music Center, I saved up all of my work-study money when I was in college at Howard University, and I took a trip up to Wheaton, Maryland, where the store is, and purchased the 2000 XL. And like a crazy person, I got on the train in DC with two friends and brought it back to the dorm at Howard. Shout out to Carver Hall. Carver Hall doesn't exist anymore, but that was the dorm that I was in at the time for freshman year. And I had it for a couple of years. It's the machine that helped me learn how to use the Yamaha Motif ES because I had a hard time with the sequencer in the ES. So the 2000 XL basically became the sequencer. And it also connected to my Phantom X. It eventually connected to my Roland V-Synth XT rack, which eventually I might consider getting back, but not really necessary because the One Plus has so many sounds in it. It's kind of unnecessary. But that combination was so powerful, especially the Phantom and the MPC, very, very powerful. The Motif as well, but the Motif became like an extra thing versus a necessary thing, the Phantom and the 2000 XL. If you are looking for a hardware pair that is hard to beat, the 2000 XL or any MPC and a Phantom X is hard to beat. Then, because of finances, I think my wife and I had finally started dating and things kind of got tight for us at the time, and I made the decision to go ahead and let go of my MPC 2000 XL. So after a couple of years, my career took off with music production, and we were up in New York, and I was working out of a studio with my old partner who helped me make the whistle track, and we were using the 3000, which I wasn't really a fan of how the 3000 works. It is an amazing sequencer. I just hated you come from dealing with waveforms and working with things that way, and now you're basically working in the 3000 with cut by numbers, which is not impossible. It's a lot of by ear, but I was spoiled, I admit that. The 3000 is not a bad machine, it's just, it had some quirky limitations and things that I wasn't willing to work with. Some dude in his personal helicopter. Anyway, it had some quirks that I just wasn't really a fan of, and I liked having more sample time. That was really the thing with the 3000. I didn't like how short of a sample time I had. Doesn't make it a bad machine. It just wasn't the one for me, and that's okay. That should be okay. If that's not okay, you can leave my channel because it was okay. And I didn't miss out on much by not using it. At that time, I actually dove into using the Phantom X's sequencer 100%, as well as Logic on the side, and it worked out really great for a while, but it was always something missing. So a couple years later, I picked up my first 1000, and it worked fine for about 3 months, and then the pad started acting weird. So at the time, because money was coming in from music production, I bought another one, and it seemed like the same issue happened, and I reached out to Akai and wasn't really getting a good response, and I was frustrated, but I still decided to buy another one. So I had 3 1000s, the blue ones, and every single one of them had the same problem after 6 months to a year, and I was beyond pissed. So with this realization, I basically stopped using the MPCs. I sold all of the 1000s. This was just before I found out that there was a pad replacement scenario for it, that you can pick up pads to replace the ones that are not working. But honestly, I didn't care anymore at that point. So I just basically moved on from the 1000 and Akai and dove 100% into the Phantom and Logic Pro. I ran with Logic Pro 5.5, 5.5.5.1. That's how they like numbered it back then, all the way till about Logic 11 before I started feeling like it just didn't feel right. And honestly, back in Logic 10, I just wasn't feeling it because there was something about it. I mean, Logic is powerful. This is not me blaming the tools. This is literally about my own personal comfort. So don't take anything I'm saying as any of these tools are bad. None of them are. It's the user experience. And my user experience, I wasn't enjoying at the time. And it's okay to shake things up. I think it's good to have a hybrid scenario where you have some hardware and some software and you go back and forth where you mix the two. I think it helps to diversify your music palette. So it's really important. I think when you get stuck in a box, where you just use one machine or, some people just use one old machine, it doesn't really work out as well as everybody thinks. I mean, even you look at some of our legends with MPCs, although they start in the MPC, eventually they bring it into Pro Tools or Logic or something, and they do add stuff to it. They may not necessarily say so directly, but they do. So it's just one of those things. Anyway, fast forward to my second 2000 XL. Now, my second 2000 XL happened around 2011. And the gentleman who gave it to me, well, he didn't give it to me. He loaned it to me. And this is the story that was interesting. He was a music producer with a partner, and they helped me land 3 of my very first TV placements. And I was really green on how the TV placement thing works, so I didn't know what I was doing, and he did take advantage of the situation. They licensed several of my records with them, and we collaborated on a couple. Sync licensing is kind of an interesting space. But what I didn't know behind my back, what he was doing was relicensing the same records in just his name. So he was relicensing my records in his name and getting full credit for those. And in sync licensing, you can license one record multiple times for many different shows, and then the titling and the tracking information will be tied to whoever it's licensed to. So while I was getting paid on one show for one record, he was getting paid on another show for the same record under a different name. And when I found that out, I was so pissed. He reached out to me and said, hey, I really need my MPC 2000 XL back. And he didn't know that I already knew this. And I told him, it's gone. He's like, what do you mean by it's gone, man? I'm gonna come by your house, I'm gonna kick your ass. And I literally told him, come do it. Come to my house and do it. I never heard from him again. I literally, like a week later, sold that MPC on eBay. And it was really good condition, fully loaded, 8 outs, the whole 9. Everything was on that thing. I regretted selling it. I should have just held on to it. But I was just so angry at the time that it just kind of swayed me away from it for a while. Sometime about a year or so ago, I decided to start picking up MPCs again. And I wanted to buy a brand new machine, but I also wanted something familiar that I understood. So my first one coming back was the 5000. And the 5000 was a challenge because everybody was talking trash about it. And that's probably why it was so cheap. And I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna just jump in right here. Everybody's talking crap about it. I'm a person who, I'll watch a movie that everybody talks trash about and realize the movie's actually good and people are just talking without thinking. So I would rather give something a chance, and if I don't like it, I could return it and get something else. So I gave it a shot, I loved it, and I kept it. There were certain quirks about it that I didn't like, but it was minor. And to solve the familiarness of things, I knew the 1000 was there. I knew it had the pad upgrade. With the black ones, I took a chance, I picked up a black one, and the rest is history. We already know the black one's been converted to look like the 2000 XL and the 3000. And I loved those 2 machines, but those 2 machines got me comfortable enough to finally pick up an MPC 1 Plus. I actually wanted the X or the Live 2, but the 2 of them were just so expensive that I didn't think it was wise. And if you know anything about me, I tend to research everything. So of course, before I even considered buying the 1 Plus, I took like 8 to 10 months, because there was no rush, to just really go over all of the feature sets and everything to consider before buying it. And when I finally came to the conclusion that this is what I wanted to do, I pulled the trigger and I bought the 1 Plus, and I didn't regret it. But to do it, it did require me to sell my Phantom X and a couple other little things here and there, but I didn't regret it. So now that the YouTube journey is starting to roll, and I've made some YouTube associates, which are very cool people. Paris over at PPIC has been such a chill dude. He was telling me about all the MPCs he had, and we discussed a whole bunch of different things. And when he decided it was time to sell some, I reached out and I was like, hey, what are you doing with some of your 2000 XLs? I think it's time for me to get my original beginning back again. And I told him, let me know which one he wants to part with. And he told me which one, and that's how we arrived at today, being an owner of a 1000, a 2000 XL, 5000, and a 1 Plus. And I'm pretty happy about it. Like, I should have never sold the 2000 XL, but honestly, life is more important than hardware. So I don't fully regret that decision. I do regret selling the one that I got from the guy who stole my music. But you make decisions in anger. And this is why I tell people all the time, you shouldn't make decisions when you're upset. I don't do that anymore. When I'm upset, I walk away from the situation for a bit. I just go do some thinking, calm down, meditate a little bit, just relax and get my mind right first. And then once my head is clear, then I go make a decision. Because when you make a decision in haste and frustration, you almost always make the wrong decision. And I don't recommend that. So that's just a quick story on the 2000 XL journey, the whole MPC journey for me. And will I pick up anything in the future? Maybe. I mean, the 1 Plus is pretty damn awesome. And I don't care what anybody else has to say about it, the trash they want to talk about it. It's pretty damn awesome. And I love working with it. So the wind is picking up, and I'm gonna go back inside in a moment. We'll see what the future holds. Maybe I will pick up another MPC at some point in the future, but right now, as for the older machines, that chapter is closed. I'm done. This is every old machine I could possibly want, and I'm excited. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, and join me next time.